would you like to know about the old style enduring power of attorney? I tell you what, I'll give you my stream of consciousness and then you ask any questions that you'd like to. So the modern system, the current system, is lasting powers of attorney known as LPAs, but the old style EPAs, they had to be put in place and be complete and signed by everybody by the end of October 2007. So if you've got one, or your parents have got one, or your auntie's got one, or your uncle's got one, make sure that they check that it's actually valid and signed by everybody. Sounds obvious, but worth checking. The old style EPAs only ever related to property and finances, whereas the new style LPAs, one relates to property and finances, the other one relates to health and welfare. So somewhat limited. I mean, still do the job of the property and finances if they are still, correct. So one thing worth checking is, have you got the right people involved? Have you got someone that you actually wouldn't want to be able to sell your house and access all your bank accounts? Review it, change it, cancel it. Do you now have adult children? Is that something that you want to consider? In which case it wouldn't be amending an old EPA. Absolutely not. Please don't do that. It would be a case of putting a new style LPA in place with the right people currently. So they're all things that you want to check about your old EPA if you have one. One thing worth noting is that the new LPA, so lasting powers of attorney, they really do have to be registered before they can be used. Unlike the old style EPA, this is a bit like spot the difference, isn't it? The old style EPA, that could be used with your consent. But there is an obligation, there is a duty on the attorneys to register the document if you are becoming or have become mentally incapable. And that is a very serious duty that your attorneys need to have taken on board. Clearly, if you're an attorney on an EPA for somebody else, you need to appreciate that very real duty to register if the person is becoming or has become mentally incapable. Do take that seriously. The registration process is a bit of a faff. We work on fixed fees, so we can help you if you need that, but it's one of those things where you need to serve notice properly on various people, and once you enter a new category of person, then you have to serve notice on all of those people, whether they're nieces, nephews or whatever. Chat with us about that if you need to, but the registration process is very different. So LPAs, you put them in place, you go ahead and register so that they can be used if they're needed. The EPA sails along for years and is only registered if the person is becoming or has become mentally incapable. In terms of what you would want to review then, so the big kind of chunk that might potentially be missing, if you've got a good EPA, great, celebrate, double check it really is a good one with the right people, but consider the new style health and welfare LPA, only because that old style EPA never did cover health and welfare. It really didn't. It was only ever property and finances. So I guess today's message is, if you need to understand a bit more about the old style EPAs, there aren't many of us left. Well, no, there are, I'm joking. But obviously only a certain number of practitioners were involved in the old style EPA. It just means I'm old, and that's okay. But if you need help, if you need a chat through, if you need to review some documents of your own, or your auntie or your grandma or whatever, do feel that you can reach out to me or many other practitioners who specialise in this work. We're always happy to have a chat through with you and flag up issues for you to consider with your family. My number is 01727 840 240 and it's option 3 for me. It says wills and probate on the telephone system thingy, but that does very much include powers of attorney.